A new Wordle puzzle is online. Click on the link to play.
Listening to the following video may give you clues. Please like and share the videos.
Grizzlies vs Timberwolves game recap April 29, 2022. Grizzlies vs Timberwolves. What can we learn from last night's game? The Grizzlies come from behind in the second quarter to win.
Who were the MVPs of this game? Brandon Clarke and Desmond Bane. Find out in this game recap.
You may also be interested in the game's MVPs. The Timberwolves have won 4 straight games.
Grizzlies come from behind to win. The Grizzlies have come from behind in 2 straight games against the Wolves, but neither team can close out a game well.
Memphis has won 2 straight games, and Grizzlies forward Karl Anthony Towns has played better. This game has the potential to be an offensive explosion.
This is a game in which you should take the under, especially if the Grizzlies are playing well after falling behind early in the series. The Grizzlies rallied to win Game 5 in overtime against Minnesota.
The Grizzlies didn't play well in the first round and were down 2-1, so they were in a tough situation in Game 5. Despite their struggles, Ja Morant had a franchise-high fourth quarter, scoring 18 points and dishing out 12 assists.
Despite a slow start, the Memphis big men hit a game-winning shot on Timberwolves forward Jarred Vanderbilt to clinch the win. Memphis led the Timberwolves by 10 points entering the fourth quarter, but rallied to win the game in the final minutes.
Brandon Clarke scored 17 points and added 11 rebounds, while center Jaren Jackson Jr. made back-to-back three-pointers with 3:09 left to seal the victory for Memphis.
The Grizzlies have advanced to the NBA Finals and will face the Golden State Warriors in the series. Wolves' defense struggled to keep pace with the Grizzlies, and their offense had trouble scoring at the end of the game.
Many times, they held the ball in one player's hands, so the defense was forced to respond. And in the end, the Wolves failed to capitalize.
In the end, the Grizzlies came from behind to win the game, which sealed the series for the Wolves. Brandon Clarke and Desmond Bane were MVPs.
The Grizzlies outscored the Timberwolves by 42 points in the fourth quarter to tie the game 83-83. The Grizzlies also got good looks from outside, led by Ja Morant's double-double.
Brandon Clarke was the other MVP. Ja Morant struggled with his shot, but still finished with a triple-double.
Tyus Jones and Dillon Brooks both had 11 points. The Grizzlies led by 8 points entering the fourth quarter.
But after a halftime timeout, the Grizzlies rallied and outscored the Wolves 40-22. The Grizzlies' Ja Morant had been bottled up by the Wolves' defense in the first half, but scored 22 points and added 8 rebounds.
The Grizzlies won the series 4-2 and will now face the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference semifinals. Brandon Clarke and Desmond Bane were the MVPs of the Grizzlies vs.
Timberwolves game. Desmond Bane had 28 points and 7 three-pointers, while Jaren Jackson Jr.
contributed 14 points and 6 rebounds for the Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson Jr.
led the Timberwolves with 17 points and 4 rebounds. Karl Anthony Towns was solid in the defensive end, and the Grizzlies will face the Warriors in the Western Conference semifinals.
The Grizzlies have been better throughout the series. They have out-executed the Timberwolves late in the fourth quarter, and have established an identity for themselves in transition.
The Grizzlies have the advantage in half-court possessions, with 78.2 of the floor, while the Wolves are down to 82.2. While both teams struggle to score in transition, they continue to pound the interior.
The Timberwolves are right behind them, making just 41.7% of shots at the rim. Brandon Clarke and Desmond Bane were MVPs of Grizzlies vs Timberwolves.
The Memphis Grizzlies won their series against the Minnesota Timberwolves on Thursday night. Desmond Bane led the way for Memphis, scoring 23 points and making 7 of 15 threes in the game.
Jaren Jackson Jr. was also very impressive, finishing with 9 points and 8 rebounds.
Both Bane and Clarke scored in double figures. Memphis finished the game with a 114-106 victory, and Ja Morant had a quiet night.
The Grizzlies have been playing better the entire series, and this game was no different. They outplayed the Wolves in the fourth quarter, establishing their identity in transition.
They led in half-court positions with 78.3, while the Wolves are clinging to 82.3. Both teams struggle to score in transition, but both teams are continuing to pound the inside.
The Wolves are right behind with 41.7% of their shots at the rim. The Memphis Grizzlies were without Steven Adams in Game 1, but had success in the second half of the series.
After a loss to Minnesota, the Grizzlies had to go with a small lineup, and they've seen success since. However, they are missing a few key players.
Finch is confident in the lineup, and has been playing with Jordan McLaughlin as much as possible. Despite losing Game 6 of the series, the Grizzlies have the young talent and the playmakers to win the series.
With their veteran players, a talented rookie, and a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, the Grizzlies are poised to make some noise but before they do that, they must play well against the Warriors to ensure their success in the next round.
Desmond Bane was MVP of Grizzlies vs Timberwolves. A game with a high-scoring second half and a buzzer-beating dunk in the last few minutes was one that both teams will remember for a long time.
Desmond Bane led the way with 23 points on 5 from an ace, 9 shooting from three-point range. Jaren Jackson Jr.
added 17 points and drew 5 fouls. Brandon Clark came off the bench and made a difference with 17 points, 11 rebounds and 5 assists.
The Timberwolves had 2 starters score in double figures. However, the Grizzlies tagged on a second-half comeback by erasing a double-digit deficit to win the game for the third time in 6 games.
Desmond Bane tied the game with a corner 3 with under 3 minutes. Despite their young age, the Memphis Grizzlies did not play like their age.
They trailed by 14 points at the half, but they fought back. Desmond Bane had 9 points in the first quarter and hit 3 threes in the last minute.
Clark chipped in with 12 points and 5 rebounds in the fourth quarter. The Grizzlies will face the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference semifinals.
The Grizzlies' offense spurred a second-half run, but Minnesota roared back and led by as much as 13 points in the third quarter. Jaren Jackson Jr.
rediscovered his touch in the fourth quarter and Desmond Bane added another 16 points. Jaren Jackson Jr.
and Tyus Jones each added 10 points. Game 3 is Thursday in Minnesota.
Brandon Clark was MVP of Grizzlies vs Timberwolves. The Grizzlies' impact Clark had an excellent two-way game.
The third-year big has become a vital part of the Grizzlies' second unit, and his performance against the Timberwolves was an ideal example of why he should be considered as a future MVP in this game. Clark averaged 16.3 points, 7.7 boards, 1.2 assists, and 0.9 steals.
In all, he shot 70.8% from the floor. Despite the early deficit, the Grizzlies held on to defeat the Timberwolves in the fourth quarter, and avenged a 27-point deficit in Game 1 of the series.
Tyus Jones and Desmond Bane came up in the third quarter, and Clark added 17 points and 17 boards. Towns was a strong presence on the glass as well, with 30 points and 8 rebounds.
The Grizzlies had lost 4 of their previous 5 games, and the series opener had been a disappointment. The Grizzlies were not expected to win this game, but they showed the Grizzlies' potential.
The Wolves' star players have struggled to find their rhythm late in the game, and this was the case again this night. They shot 28 from outside the arc and allowed Russell to score a game-high 22 points.
The Memphis Grizzlies clinched their first playoff series in 7 years. After trailing by 11 points late in the third quarter, the Grizzlies closed the gap and won the series in Game 6.
The Grizzlies will face the Golden State Warriors in the second round. It is not unlikely that they will force a Game 7 in the series if they win the first 2 games.